chronic condition that causes lots of different types of symptoms, including widespread and really awful levels of pain, extreme fatigue, and even cognitive challenges are commonly known as fibro fog. Now, it's estimated to affect around 1 in 20 people, so more common than we would think. Yeah. But despite that, unfortunately, we still don't fully understand the ins and outs of it. We think that the underlying mechanism is related to a change in the way that the spinal cord and the brain processes pain in these people. And people with fibromyalgia are believed to have higher levels, abnormally higher levels of certain chemicals in the brain that signal pain. So these people are much more sensitive to pain. Now, I have patients that come in and say to me that they feel regularly they're dealing with shooting pains that feel like electric shocks across their bodies. You can really imagine having to live with that every day. Now, it can run in families. It can affect women more than men. We don't really know why that's the case. It affects people between the ages of 25 to 55, but we have seen it in younger children as well. We think that some of the causes that can trigger it are things like trauma. So, for example, a car accident, a big, massive life event like, bereavement, for example. Viral illnesses are a common one. So after you've recovered from a viral illness, it can cause it. Childbirth as well. But in some cases, we don't know why it happens.
My gosh, it's, funny that, because Sharon says it's an awful condition. She's in constant pain. Because it's invisible, most people don't understand it, and I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people that suffer with this condition, others, because they cannot see it, they just don't understand it.
Yeah, I think due to a general lack of understanding, awareness, education about fibromyalgia, many people that are living with it have felt for decades that there's been a significant degree of stigma. A lot of people will often say that they feel that they weren't heard, that their symptoms weren't taken seriously, they were disregarded, and actually a lot of people may have been misdiagnosed for many years at a time. And as a GP, it is really heartbreaking when my patients come in and relay that. I guess maybe it hits even harder for me because I have got personal experience of it in that my mum has lived with fibromyalgia for decades now. I'm going back to medical school, so this is 20 years ago. But I remember my mum just going from being a busy bee, a really active, mum, to suddenly a woman who was just crippled with severe fatigue and pain. And every time she went to the doctor, she was told, well, your tests are clear, there's nothing wrong with you. One doctor even said to her at the time that, it's all in your head, like we've heard in the comments. And she started to question, am I going crazy? And when you have instances like this, the person that's affected will feel like that they are unsupported. It increases isolation. It can even lead to problems like depression. And I think it adds to the general lack of empathy that we have in society towards invisible conditions, not just fibromyalgia, but things like chronic fatigue syndrome or ME, long COVID, autoimmune conditions, to name a few. Things are getting better, but we've a long way to go.
You talked about how it affected your mum's life. That's the thing. These symptoms are really disruptive in life, aren't they?
Yeah, they really can be, because, as I said, you've got people that are otherwise previously holding down jobs, running homes, looking after children, and then they become former, shadows of themselves. And I think that the problem is twofold. One is that the symptoms are so non-specific and generalised, so they can often mimic other conditions, but also there's no specific test for fibromyalgia. So we often arrive at it, we call it a diagnosis of exclusion. So it relies on a really thorough and detailed history, a clinical examination. Investigations largely come back negative, and you have to piece it together in order to come to that. So I think it's important to familiarise ourselves with the symptoms.
Yeah, for sure.
So we've got a wee list here for yourselves. There's pain sensitivity. By far the biggies are pain sensitivity and muscle stiffness. Now, this isn't just pain in one particular area. It can affect anywhere on the body, and people can be really sensitive to even the lightest form of touch. Depletion of energy and extreme fatigue. So this is like waking up after hours and hours of sleep and still feeling exhausted. And if you have maybe done a little bit too much or overexerted yourself one day, it really has a knock-on effect in making you feel drained for the rest of the week. Another common one that people describe is called fibro fog. This affects your memory, your concentration and ability to pay attention. And it can be really difficult in the workspace if you're not supported with this symptom. And last but not least, it can affect your gut as well, fibromyalgia. And the irritable bowel syndrome, IBS, is a common one. It can also cause restless leg syndrome. It can cause headaches. The list goes on.
Those symptoms are incredibly debilitating, aren't they?
Yeah, but and I suppose it's a wonder why it hasn't. There's not sort of a thing that you can pinpoint to say that's the cause of
That's it. Yeah.
You know, which is a bit sad. I think we've got something else from Siobhan. She suffers with fibromyalgia. Is there anything she can do to get a good night's sleep?
Yeah. The unfortunate thing is that at this moment in time, we don't have a cure for fibromyalgia, but there are lots of different things that you can do to help with the symptoms and the flare-ups. So the first thing is heat. Heat is really effective if you've got achy, stiff joints. Now, this could be as simple as a hot water bottle. It could be having a warm bath or soaking your hands and feet in warm water. The next thing is painkillers. Now, this could be anything from over-the-counter painkillers to more sort of stronger ones that as a GP we can prescribe. Now, exercise is something that I get asked a lot about, and it's really important that I say you have to be extremely careful when you have fibromyalgia. You have to work to your own ability. Of course, the benefits of exercise are countless. It can affect with your mood, it releases endorphins, can really help improve your symptoms. But if you are struggling, then it's important to speak to your doctor and we can refer you to get a specialist input into how to exercise. The next one I wanted to mention is talking therapy is extremely effective. So this is things like cognitive behavioural therapy to help you really manage the thought processes and the issues that you can be feeling as a result of your flare-ups. And certainly acupuncture. There's been a lot of evidence to show that acupuncture has been helpful. And I also want to mention even things like yoga and Tai Chi have been great. I guess the most important part of management, and this goes for everything, is it has to be an individualised approach. What works for one person might not work for the next. And support is everything. That is right down to your healthcare professionals, your family and friends, and your workspace.
Yeah, I think it's something that we're going to have to keep coming back to because it's really important. But there's really great information.
Absolutely. Medication, just because Dee's been in touch to say, asking if antidepressant medication can help.
Yeah, antidepressants can often be very helpful, not just in terms of improving mood, but we can use certain types of antidepressants for managing pain as well, which can also improve the quality of sleep. These, alongside some of the other things that I've mentioned, can be really effective.
Thank you, Dr.
Lovely. Thank you, Dr. P.
Time check.